Now here's something that we all need to know how to do. How to prepare your artwork once you photographed it to go into some sort of digital portfolio or put it online. For this, you're going to need Photoshop. And you want to take quite a few pictures of your artwork. In this case, drawings, paintings, whatever. You'll probably use a camera. You can, of course, use your phone instead. But you want to make sure that you'll have the highest settings for quality and for pixel size. Take quite a few pictures and then choose the best one to open it in Photoshop. And when you have it in Photoshop, you'll have something like this. I'm going to go through the important steps you need to know of how to prepare a good online image. In this case, this photo has been taken sideways and needs to be turned to go to the right orientation. I'll start to do that by going up to Image and then Image Rotation. In this case, I'll just need to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. And there we go. Now, if your image was already the right orientation, you don't have to do that. So we have something like this. And I'll zoom out a bit so I can see the entire image here. I'm having it shown in one window, not a tab, but you can work on it however works best for you. Now, you're going to want to correct any problems with your drawing that you might have because the angle isn't quite right, or maybe it's turned a little bit. So one thing that will actually help quite a bit is to show rulers right here. I always have rulers shown when I'm working in Photoshop. If you don't see rulers, you can go up to View and you can show your rulers right here, or use the keyboard shortcut, Command-R on the Mac or Control-R on the PC. But what this will do is it will allow you to pull down guides. And you can see things that are perfectly straight and horizontal and vertical. So we've got these rulers right here, or these guides from the rulers. Now these won't be in your final image, they won't print, they're just helpful things to use. Now if you have an image here and you can see that it's not quite straight, here's what you can do about that. Over here in your tools, you'll see this eyedropper. If you right click on it, you'll see a ruler tool. And this is very helpful for straightening your image. So what you can do is take that ruler tool and drag it along this line here that you want to be straight, either horizontal or vertical. So drag it right there far enough so that it works, and then you'll see this button right here that says Straighten Layer. Click that. There you go. And now it has rotated that layer so that this line is now straight. There we go. See that? So that's very helpful to do a really easy fine-tuning there. Now you should take, like I say, your picture as big as possible and include areas that you don't want. It's better to have too much image than too little, because now we can crop it. Come over here to the crop tool and you'll see these handles on the sides and corners you can pull in. So take it and pull that in to get just the parts that you want to use on your artwork. Notice how the crop tool is including these very handy third divisions, both horizontal and vertical. And so this can really help you as you're trying to put together a composition. This can be a really good tool to help you compose the image. You don't have to stick with what the actual edges of your paper or canvas are. You can make artistic decisions to crop it in and show just what you want. You can even pull it in a bit more and show something like a detailed image. So that's what I'll do right here, since this is the most finished part of the drawing, and we don't really need the rest of that. So I can hit Return or Enter on the keyboard. There you go. And I've now cropped the image. So let's zoom in a bit here and take a look at it. Okay, no matter how well that you've photographed your image, it can always use some sort of color or value adjustment to make it even better. So what you probably want to do is look and see areas that could be a little bit darker and a little bit lighter. You may want to go pure black and pure white on it, especially if you're doing pen and ink drawings, or you might want to have a more subtle range for charcoal and pencil drawings and so on. But the best way to do this is with adjustment layers. So if you look on your layers panel, right at the bottom, you're going to have this button here that will give you adjustment layers. So these are going to be the most helpful ones right here. We're dealing with value, or the light and dark, and we want to adjust this and make it as good as it can be. The best one to use here, the one that's going to be the most professional, give you the most control and the best results, is going to be curves. They tend to be sort of more amateur level here, and as you go down the level here, you'll get more and more professional controls. So curves is really the best one to use here. I'll click on this, and you'll get the curves control box right here. Now, just to show you what's going on, you've got this graph right here, which is called a histogram. And the histogram is showing you the darks and lights of the image. This represents pure black, this represents pure white, and it shows you how much is there. You can see there's no pure white in the image, and you likely won't have that. The paper isn't pure white, and it doesn't have really bright light shining on it, so I've got nothing in this area. I also have no pure black either, so I've got these big spikes here that are right around the dark sort of 1/4 value, and right around here on the midtones. So more than likely you're going to want to add contrast. And here's what you're going to want to do. This 45-degree line that's straight means there is no change happening. As this line goes up, it will make things lighter. As it goes down below this 45-degree line, it will make things darker. And you'll come up with some type of curve here. That's why this is called curves. The best way to do this is to click and activate this button right here. And then you can come right over your image and you can select a particular part. Notice as I roll over the image here, it shows the circle on that line. That shows you exactly where that value is. So I'm going to come to my darkest areas right around here. Let's say maybe right there. It's kind of the darker areas. And I'm going to click. And it puts a point on the line here. And now I'm going to come and find my brightest areas in my image. Maybe see about here, and then click. And that puts a point right there on the line. So here's where the dark value is. Here's where the brightest value is. In most situations, you want to increase contrast by brightening the bright values and darkening the dark values. And here's how you're going to do that. With the point selected, you can see this one is filled in, this one isn't. Use the arrow keys on the keyboard and move it up. So as it goes up above the 45-degree line, it's going to brighten this area right here. Now if I want to get the dark values, I'm going to click on that dark point right there and move with my down arrow key, move that line down. And you can see now I'm darkening the darkest values. You probably want to get some things close to pure black, and you might want to get some things close to pure white, depending upon what your image looks like here. And then you can see your midtones. Do your midtones look too dark or too light? Well, if I think right here it's looking a little bit too dark, I can click and see how I've added a point right there on the curve, and I'll move that up a little bit and lighten some of those midtone values. If I come and look at this right here, and I think, you know, that could be a little bit darker, I can click on that, and there's another point, and I'm moving that point down with my arrow key. You might notice that what you see here looks kind of like an S, and that's what you'll be doing to increase the contrast. Here's the important part about using the curves adjustment layer. You want to make sure that as your line is going from left to right, it's always going uphill. It should never go flat, and really worse than that, it should never go downhill. Always be going uphill from left to right, and you will have a nice set of values. So if I turn this adjustment layer off, there's my original, and there's my new image. So I've got some nice areas here that are nice and dark, getting pretty close to pure black, and I've got some areas here that aren't quite pure white, but they're getting brighter. But maybe for this one, because the paper isn't pure white and I haven't done any white on it, I don't want to leave that pure white. But you could move that point all the way up to get that to pure white. Now, as you're working with this photo, even though it is a black and white drawing, the photo of it is in color. And often as you increase the contrast, you will notice that the color becomes more saturated. Now if you don't want that, you can just use another adjustment layer. So if I click down here for another adjustment layer, I can come to this one called Vibrance. So click on that one, and I've got a second adjustment layer to adjust or change my image. It has two controls, Vibrance and Saturation. So any control here that you move up and give a positive number, that increases that vibrance or that saturated color. As you take it and make it negative, it's going to reduce the color or desaturate and reduce the vibrance. Now you can take the vibrance all the way down to -100 and there's still a little bit of color there. Whereas if you do it with saturation and it goes all the way down to 100, that's complete grayscale. Black, white, and grays and no color. So if you're looking for that, you might want to use saturation. In this case, because the paper has some color to it, I'm not looking just for a pure black and white type of image. I'll take the vibrance down until it more resembles the original color. So there's a little bit of color there, a little bit of hue, not too much, but it's not pure grayscale. It has some warmth to it. And there we go. That's kind of the end result here. Now it's good to know the pixel size of your image, because as you're uploading these images, they're going to be measured in pixels on a computer or some other type of device. So if I'm looking at my rulers here, especially if I have this set right down here to document dimensions, I can see my pixel size. Currently 980 by 1035. Now will that work? You know, that's up to you. You want things to be as big as you can have them, but not too big. Some portfolios might have a pixel size, some requirements might have a definite size for you to work with, but here's the important thing about pixel sizes. It's always better to size down if your image is too small than size up. Excuse me, it's always better to size down if your image is too big than size up if your image is too small. That's why you want to take your photograph or your artwork as large as possible, because if it's too large, we can size it down. Now there are various ways to do that. You can always go here to image size and do that, but if we're saving for the web, there's an even better way to do that. So if the work is all done and you like the end result here, how you've cropped it, how you've straightened it, gotten rid of any distortion, rotated it, and done appropriate adjustments, the best way to make an image to upload is to go to File and Export and Save for Web, Legacy. Legacy means this is an older way of doing it in Photoshop, but they still have it in here, and this really is the best way to do it. So let's do that. Save for Web, Legacy. So if you click on this one, what you'll get is this new sort of window, or almost like a little mini program that pops up over Photoshop. And this is going to show you what your final Saved for Web image is going to look like. If you choose 2 up, what you're going to have here is your original image and your new image that you're saving out, and so you can see and compare them. For something that is photographic, you're going to want to use either JPEG or PNG-24, because those are going to be full color images and make it look the best. If you do a PNG-8 or a GIF, it's going to reduce the amount of colors and it won't have more than 256 colors. So you're not going to want that for your drawings and paintings and really any traditional media. So it's very common. See, that's what happens there. You can see there's your palletized image. These are 256 colors, and it's actually going to reduce the quality of your image. So for your photographic work in your paintings, you're going to want to choose JPEG or PNG-24. Now it's very common for people to do PNG-24 these days and not think about it, but what you might notice is that the file size is fairly large. So right here I've got a 1.48 meg file, and the PNG is going to look exactly like the original. But if I take that and I make it a JPEG, the exact same file is 352.9K. So it's something like 1/4 the size. And if size is an issue, then you might want to do this. So because many things are using cellular networks and data plans and all that, it's not a bad idea to use JPEG because the file size is always going to be better. Now, if you have a JPEG, you have the option of choosing your quality. So you can see low to maximum. The more you compress it down, the smaller it makes the file size, but the more it will compress your image and cause some distortion and some artifacts in there called compression artifacts. So for example, if I were to take it and have it a JPEG and have it be a low quality, and we zoom in a little bit here, you can see it's starting to put in some weird little coloring and some distortions going on. Well, that's the nature of JPEG compression. If I go up to high, now it looks a lot better and closer to the original. You can even keep it very high. The truth is that when anyone's seeing this, and looking at it at 100% on a website or some kind of online portfolio, it's not going to make any difference. So it really is a good practice to use JPEGs to save your photographic images. So once we have all this done right here, you can look at your image size. If you haven't seen it before, it'll show you in pixels. If you ever hear things talk about resolution or DPI, which is incorrect, it's actually PPI, they'll talk about, for the web, they mention 72. Notice there's no resolution setting here. That's because it doesn't matter. All that matters is the number of pixels. So if this number works for you, you can keep it that way. If it's too big, you can size it down either by percent or give it an actual pixel count. So for example, if you were looking to put an image onto a web-based portfolio or something like that and had to be a specific size, let's say the width had to be 750 pixels, you could change this right there, type in 750, and it gives you the new size. It shows you now it's 76.53% of what it was. I'll click in this other box, and now it's sized it down. And this is the actual image you're going to get as a very high JPEG. You can then click Save and put it where you want it and give it the name that you want to call it, and then upload it wherever it has to go. So this is the best way to take your images and prepare them to upload for an online portfolio, for a portfolio review, to apply for something. And if you follow these steps here, and if you choose a good photo for your image, you'll get the best quality end result. So give it a try, and good luck.